Well, this photo was taken in a coal-fired power station. We don't have so many of those over here in Sweden, but we have many in the UK. Coal was a huge part of our UK economy. This is in the burner. So this is in the burner that lights with coal dust. It's on fire when it's lit. It's obviously not lit there, else I wouldn't be here. It goes to 2,000 degrees, and it's 180 feet high, and when it gets hot, it expands by 40 centimetres, just so that it can power the turbines by the steam from the pipes that these guys were fixing. And to stand in something of that scale is extraordinary. To see the scale of what we build to generate electricity, for me, was amazing. To see the engineers, to meet the engineers, to look at the scale, to look at the coal, just to see how things function, fascinated me. And on this journey, coal was a subject which was very close to my heart. It was part of the UK economy for many, many years. And my great-grandfather was a coal miner. And when you see that picture of him, you see a man from another era. Nobody dresses like that now. Nobody has trousers that pull up quite that high right now. It may come back, but it's another age. But yet that's me with him. And they're not his real ears. They're as spocky as he put on for his great-grandchildren. But I was really close to my great-grandfather. I remember him talking about his life down the coal mines. I remember him talking about the ponies that they used to work underground with, which helped them to recover the coal from the pits. He said that when the ponies retired, the miners would save them the crust of their sandwiches, and when they finished their shift underground, they would take them to the ponies which lived around the mouth of the pits, because they'd worked together for so many years and they knew each other so well. I remember it like it was yesterday. And on this journey of trying to understand resources and materials and energy, I went to the World Coal Association. And there in the middle of the homepage, it said we have about 118 years of coal left. And I'd been to many web pages, I'd read many reports, I'd spoken to many experts, about 40 years of oil in its conventional form. I'd looked at lots of figures. And 118 years struck me as well outside my lifetime. But when I did the maths, I realised that my great-grandfather was born exactly 118 years before that year. And I sat on his knee till I was 11 years old. And it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing in time. And it made me realise how reliant we are on not only this coal but these other materials. And it actually made me make the decision I never thought I would make. And that was to leave the sport of solo sailing behind me and focus on a much greater challenge, how our future economy could function. And it wasn't just the energy, it was also those materials I mentioned. The 2008 New Scientist report, looking at global materials, how many years do we have left? 13 years of indium in every LCD screen, currently not recycled anywhere. Copper, 61, uranium, 59, zinc, tin, about 40 years. Really short time spans, and that's at current consumption. But we know ultimately we're using these materials faster and faster. Global use of these materials is increasing quickly. We have an increasing global population, and the line gets steeper. But one thing we know for sure, that line can't go vertical, because it's based on resources which are finite, resources which we only have once in the history of humanity. The population of the world is increasing by a city the size of London every 38 days. And we're seeing that for 100 years our basic commodity prices fell. Food got cheaper, still fairly cheap today. It fell and fell and fell until 2002, and then there was an inflection point when suddenly those commodities started to get more expensive. Now we're seeing foods getting more expensive. Many of these basic things that we've seen for 100 years getting cheaper, they're not any longer. They're getting expensive quickly, but they're also becoming more and more volatile, which is almost a bigger threat to industries such as automobile manufacturing. Between January 2011 and January 2012, the average European car manufacturer saw an increase in raw material costs of 500 million euros. Half their operating profits wiped away, which ultimately gets passed on to us as the consumer of those vehicles. It made me think, how can the global economy function in the future? What are the solutions? If you're a car manufacturer, what would you do? Is the solution, as so many people were saying, to look at our production lines, to say, what we're going to do is we're going to make these vehicles using 5% less energy. We use 5% less energy, we use 5% less material. And then you think, well, what happens 10 years down the road? What happens 20 years down the road? Because although that buys you time, which is absolutely essential in the transition, it buys you time in the transition to what? What was the goal? Where are we trying to head? In 20 years, you're making no vehicles with no employees and no energy. If 10% is reduced, 5% is reduced every year. To me, that wasn't that goal. It wasn't that place that I was aiming for as that 4-year-old girl, that aim of sailing around the world. And I realised, our economy is predominantly a linear one. It's based on taking something out of the ground, making something out of it, and ultimately it gets thrown away. Take a washing machine. Manufacturers make money when they sell them. If they stop selling machines, they make no more money. Those machines ultimately, at some stage, have to break because they need to sell you another one. And every time they sell you a washing machine, they need new raw materials to make that machine from. It's a linear economy which is pushing through. And then I met people who saw things in a very different way. And I started to see there was a different way of looking at how the global economy could function. Michael Braungart, a German chemist, a Welsh education expert, Ken Webster, Walter Stahel, who'd done a huge amount of work on the performance economy back in the days that I was being born. 1976, he wrote a paper on this. There were other experts who'd done so much work in this space, but looking at the economy in a very, very different way. How can this function? The CEO of this company actually really opened my eyes because he makes industrial carpet tiles. And he'd said to his workforce, his whole company, he didn't say our goal is to make a carpet tile using a bit less material. He said, I want to design our carpet tiles to be designed for disassembly. I want to be able to recover them. In fact, I'd rather not sell them. I'd rather lease them because I want them to come back to our factory. I want to be able to design them so we can separate the yarn from the base. I want to melt down the base and turn it into the base of the next carpet. I want the yarn to get depolymerized, repolymerized and turned into the yarn of the next carpet. And I want to do that using entirely renewable energy by 2025. Suddenly, he had a business model that would work as well this year as it would in 1,000 years. It was a totally different way of looking at how his business functions. His name was Stef Panandijk. And then you realise it's not just cars and carpets that you could design for disassembly so you can recover the materials, but how about the biological cycle? How about all this? This is currently waste. You see that as a pile of rubbish, but actually that is absolutely jam-packed full of value. That has real value in fertiliser. It has real value in energy. It has real value in heat. But currently, we don't design to recover all that, and that's just food waste from our homes. How about manufacturing waste? How about human waste, effluent from our houses? How about farm waste? Can we collect this and put this through another cycle? Not designed for disassembly by like a carpet or a car, but designed so that the quality of that material can be maintained at its highest value at all times. In a way very similar to the carpet, but looking at the biological cycle. And that was a different way of looking at the economy. To me, suddenly this was a circular economy. It was an economy which could function in the long term. An economy whereby that value of materials, components and products was maintained at its highest value at all times. You can keep that economy flowing in the long run. And you could characterise it as having those two sides, the technical side, the biological side, but it's not just the design of the products, so you can recover materials, components, the products, it's also the business models within which they sit. Should we buy washing machines, or should we pay per wash? How do the economics stack up? How does this function? I was full of questions. How do we take this to the next level? But what I felt at this moment was the same feeling I felt as that 4-year-old girl. I could see a place to get to. I could see a goal. I could see something that could function in the long term. We're not there now. It's a huge distance to travel to get to that point, but it's a goal. It's the same goal that it was for me as sailing around the world as a kid. I had no idea how I could make that happen. But with that goal, you can make steps towards the destination. And so in September 2010, we launched the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. We raised £6 million from the private sector, from companies, by talking about a circular economy model as being an alternative to our linear one. We launched to work in 3 areas. We still work in 3 areas. We work with business, we work in education, both 14 to 19 and international education through university networks and executive education. And the third area we work in is insight, putting together economic papers, case studies, documents to help the transition happen at a faster and faster speed. We're a charity, we make no money. We're set up to accelerate the transition to a circular economy. So to go back to insight, I'll talk you through those 3 areas. 6 months after we launched the foundation, we went to the management consultants McKinsey, because we wanted to try and put a value on this different economy. There'd been a huge amount of fantastic work done in this space, but what was it worth to the economy? Was the circular economy something that would be lucrative this year, 5 years' time, 10 years' time? What were the economics? And we asked McKinsey 3 questions. Initially, in the first year, on the technical cycle, so we looked at manufactured goods within the European Union, i.e. products which cycle in more than 1 year, but less than 10. And in that first report, the one on the right, we asked 3 questions. Does the circular economy decouple growth from resource constraints? Does the circular economy work for business? Is it profitable for business? And is the circular economy good for the economy, the broader economy at large? And to answer those 3 questions, does it decouple growth from resource constraints? We took actually 5 products. We took a mobile phone, a smartphone, a light commercial vehicle, a washing machine, and cotton. And we took those 5 different topics because actually we thought that a mobile phone and a smartphone wouldn't work. We wanted to really challenge the model because they cycle fairly quickly. And we looked at small design tweaks. We looked at 3 scenarios: the status quo today, the transition scenario, and then the advanced scenario by 2025. So fairly short timescales. And we asked what was possible, and we looked at status quo on the left, unaccounted and goes to landfill, 85%. If you made some design tweaks, if you could resell, remanufacture, decomponentise products, which is not beyond us, this is advanced scenario without needing any legislation to change, we could shift unaccounted going to landfill from 85 to 50. And when we panned that out through those other products like the light commercial vehicle, the washing machine, and also the smartphone, we saw that the demand, i.e. the business as usual, for those materials shifts significantly when you shift towards a circular economy. So the top line becomes the bottom line, and your consumption of those materials from raw materials decreases. So we believe that the answer to number 1, does the circular economy decouple growth from resource constraints, was yes, and this was the early stages of the transition scenario. Number 2, is the circular economy good for business? We took those 5 subjects that I've mentioned, those 5 products, and I'll just run through 2. We looked, the first one was the light commercial vehicle. So we took a light commercial vehicle of today, not designed in any other way, and the manufacturer buys back that vehicle once it's done 100,000 miles. They then remanufacture it, changing the engine, the drivetrain, the gearbox, the tyres. They would be able to resell that vehicle with the same warranty as a new vehicle, apparently looking like a new vehicle because it's been remanufactured, for half the cost of a new vehicle and make 3 times the profit. They're no longer tied to buying those new raw materials every time because they're buying a vehicle they can remanufacture. That's the early stages. So yes, it was economically viable to shift towards this in that case, and it was, for us as the user, it was half the cost, and that's in the current buying model. That's where we actually physically buy the vehicle. This isn't a lease model, so it did stack up. The other one, the washing machine. We looked at a current washing machine of high quality and one of basic quality that most of us have in our houses. We found that the basic quality machine was designed to do about 2,000 washes. It's cheaper. The high quality machine, more expensive to buy, is designed to do 10,000 washes. When we broke that down, it cost 27 cents a wash for the low quality machine, but only 12 cents a wash over the life of the machine for the high quality machine. Now in a circular economy, the business model would ideally shift, so we wouldn't have to pay for the machine up front. I mean, when I buy a machine, I buy the machine because I need my washing done. When it breaks, I don't keep it. I don't take it all apart, recover the materials and put them in the garage. I don't want it when it's broken. It goes. So actually what I really need is just the washes. Now if we shifted from a buying the machine to a pay per wash scenario, everybody could have access to a high quality machine for only 12 cents a wash. And the manufacturer would then have a flow of materials going back to their company, so they could get the machines back, they could be able to remanufacture the machines, but also recover the materials. And if it stays in your house, they'll be able to repair the machine, upgrade the machine. And there are many companies out there doing this kind of process already, so it's entirely possible. So we get a better deal, we get a better product, we have a better relationship with the manufacturer because it doesn't break after 3 years and we don't have to buy another one. It shifts the model. But the economics, very importantly, stack up. The value lies in the inner circle. So yes, getting to the outer circle, the circle whereby you take the machine apart and you recover the materials, that is economically viable.